Hi guys, this is a video that I feel like I should have done a really long time ago, but I'm not sure why it took me so long. But this is going to be all about motorcycles, how I got into it. I'll show you my bike, what I've got changed up, my gear, and anything else that I can think about. So first, let's just start with the quick story of how I got into riding. Based on, I guess, thinking about everyone that I've known so far, riding motorcycles would have been really hard for me to be exposed to. During college, I had a Chinese classmate. She was an international student from China, and I believe her uncle had bought her a brand new Honda 250R. And I do think maybe that was the first year that the 250 was even out for Honda, because I think prior to that, Kawasaki was the only one that had bikes that small. I went to Rutgers University, New Brunswick, and on that campus, you needed to, if you lived off campus, you needed to park in a parking lot and then take the bus to the different campuses. It had 3 campuses, and I hated that system. I don't like public transportation, so I hated waiting all the time. And she would ride her bike to the building where we had our classes, and then she would take me as passenger back to my car. And that was the experience that made me realize, wow, this is a lot of fun. I want to get into this. So she helped me find a bike that I would buy for my very first. It was used. It was a 2007 Kawasaki Ninja 250, and it was $2,000. I had to drive somewhere to North Jersey to look at it. And yeah, she came with me and test rode it for me. And then I feel so fortunate, but the seller was nice enough to bring it to my house. They had a tow, I guess, and they towed it over. I paid them in cash, and I actually think my dad helped me out. Memories like this are still a little bit vague, but I do think I remember I was short a couple $100, and my dad helped me. And sometimes when I think about that, I'm very surprised about it, because motorcycles is, I guess, also coming from a Chinese family, I just don't feel like they would approve of that, right? They won't be thrilled that I'm getting into it or buying one, but very glad that he helped me out. And I actually feel like my dad had a little bit of interest in riding, because in the very, very beginning, before I even knew how to ride, he actually got on it. And I think it didn't go very well, but I was surprised he even did that. So it would be cool to see him ride in the future, and then we can ride together. From there, I rode it for several years, but there was a point in time, maybe like 2 to 3 years after I got it, where I got myself all worked up thinking of the dangers, and I was telling myself, this was my thought process, I don't love riding enough to die while doing it. So I sold it. And I think I had no motorcycle for about a year. And then I moved here to California and didn't get one right away, of course. I think I was at my first job for about 6 months. And then I hated that job. I left it. I got another job. And once I got the other job and received my raise, I bought the current one, which is a 2017 Yamaha R3. So originally, when I bought the bike, it came with some yellow and black decals that I didn't like. Yeah, it's my first ever new purchase. I do feel like I was a little bit spontaneous at the time, because I didn't actually have money saved up. I did like a 0% down, and I had some low interest rate on it because my credit score is very good. So it was very easy for me to just get it. And yeah, that pretty much brings us to today. So for me, when it comes to gear, I have always been someone who wants to wear everything, because the thought of crashing or having an accident while missing a piece just sounds terrible. So I wear the whole deal. I wear a jacket. Of course, you have to wear a helmet. I wear gloves. I wear boots. And I bought pants last. So I'd say for the longest time, I wore everything outside of pants, but then eventually I was just like, I gotta get myself some pants. Okay, so this is my motorcycle. It is a 2017 Yamaha R3. and it is a bike definitely on the smaller end. For the longest time, the starter bikes were 250cc. So I actually don't mind at all that it's a smaller bike, which I guess could be made apparent by the fact that I got the rims done. So I will try to talk through everything that I can come up with about this bike, although for the most part, it's all original parts. The only unoriginal part is my seat. So this was actually a huge deal for me because the stock seat, I couldn't ride 20 minutes without my ass hurting like crazy. It made riding so unenjoyable. So I found this place online. I mailed in my seat and then they sent it back. And I was honestly very skeptical, but what they did changed everything for me. I guess beware if you ever buy a motorcycle, especially a sports bike, just know that the original seat might be awful and you will possibly have to switch it out. I also got this, what's it called? Cramp Buster. So this is something that just kind of like puts less pressure on you needing to squeeze and turn for the throttle. Jose had one, so I wasn't aware of it for the longest time. And yeah, after long rides, my hand definitely gets very tired. And also for somebody like me, I tend to grip things way too hard, everything, whether it's my steering wheel for my car or my pen when I'm writing, I just tend to naturally grip too hard. So I have to consciously remind myself to loosen my grip and relax. This little thing right here, this is for the battery tender. That was something that I kind of learned about when I was in New Jersey when my battery would die over the winter when you just wouldn't ride it for months. So I do have this, although I don't have my battery tender anymore right now, but I really shouldn't need it because yeah, I ride it year round because it's San Diego. And then this is for my heat gear. Definitely a big deal for me whenever it's cold, even though yes, it's usually warm around here. Depending on where I ride, if I go up to the mountains, it definitely gets much colder, and it's mandatory for me. There's some times where I ride without it and I always regret it. However, I do have a leather jacket now, which I've definitely noticed has been a big difference in terms of how cold I feel naturally without any heat gear underneath. So it just lets a lot less wind in compared to my old textile jacket, and I will show all of my gear as well. But let's talk the rims. So for my rims, I brought it to a place that removed the tires from the wheelbase. And then luckily the place that was doing my rims was actually kind of local. So they were able to bring it over there for me or pick it up. I don't remember exactly, but it was kind of a sloppy process because the place that was holding my bike and that helped to remove the tires, they took forever in getting certain parts. It was a mess. I feel like it took several weeks when it should have been a pretty fast process, but I absolutely love the way my rims came out. So it was actually a little bit of a, I don't want to say dream, but I had this idea in my head because I saw a picture once of a motorcycle that had pink in it. Not necessarily this color scheme, but it had pink in it, and I was just thinking, oh, that looks really nice. I would love to have that someday. And even though it's fairly basic, where it's just white and then light pink on the rims, I love the way it looks. Maybe in the future, something I was thinking about was getting these, people kept telling me about this term, is it anodize? I'm not too familiar with it, but maybe I can accent this. That's just something that I would probably do in the future when I have money to play around with. For now, I don't. This makes me a little sad. I dropped my bike twice. Yeah, this is pretty much it. I don't really think there's anything else I need to mention specifically about the bike. I love it so much. It is so much fun to ride, and I am so glad that I was introduced to motorcycles. Okay, first let's start with the helmet. I did not clean it before I'm about to show it to you guys, so there's going to be bugs splattered all over it. This is the Shoei. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because there's another brand that I wear that's Italian, and I've been saying it wrong this whole time. But anyways, this is the RF 1200. I have no idea what features it has, but okay, it has this area that you can let in some wind. I personally never leave them open. I have before in the summer, but very rarely. Maybe just this bottom one over here. Well, this one's tight. What? Okay. So this one might be the main one that I open, I would say, because the one on top, if I let in air over here, I feel like I wear contacts. It's going to dry out my eyes. So I avoid doing that. I do also have I don't remember what the hell it's called, but there's like a shield covering on the inside of the visor, and that's to prevent it from fogging up. And I don't think it does anything for the sun. This is a piece that I bought off this website. I forget which one it is, but this is specifically for if I want to record with my GoPro. I have found this to be the most convenient position for me, because if you put the GoPro on top and it's sticking up, you will feel that pushback while you're riding, and it's terrible. If you put it on the side, same thing. It's gonna push you one way or the other. This one, yes, it can push you down a little bit because the GoPro will dangle a little bit on the bottom, but it's just not as bad as all the other places. So this is my ideal location. So lastly, I have the Cardo here that I mainly purchased for listening to music, which is actually a large part of enjoying riding for me, I've realized, because before that I had a Senna and it just stopped charging, and I took a while to replace it because I didn't want to spend a couple $100s on something like this. But once I got it again and I started listening to music again, I was like, wow, this is so much more enjoyable. So big deal for me. You could also use it to communicate with other riders that you're riding with, but I never ride with anybody, so hasn't been a big deal for me at all. And I sometimes wonder how that would be like, because I don't want someone talking to me the whole time while I'm riding. But yeah, this is my helmet. Okay, so this is my almost complete set. Leather jacket, my riding pants, and then I've got my riding boots. So my jacket and my boots are both by the Italian brand Dainese. I was recently at MotoGP and I asked them how to pronounce it properly, so I think hopefully that will make them proud. But this I only recently got. I was not riding with a leather jacket for a really long time, and it's just because I guess I didn't really take the time to find the right size. I was always buying stuff too small. So when I received it, it was just so suffocating. I didn't want to wear it. And I also just didn't realize I was just buying too small, because right now, even though yes, it sucks that I can't like move my arms very easily, having it draped like this, even when I zip it up, I don't feel like ultra constrained or anything. So I would say that this is the right fit for me. This one specifically is perforated. I bought it used off of OfferUp. I have always really liked the way leather jackets look. I think most people do. So I'm very happy to have it. And I tend to get cold very easily. So I feel like even if it's hot outside, wearing this jacket shouldn't bother me as much. But I will have to see over the summer, because this will be the very first time that I'm wearing this during a San Diego summer. My pants have been a little bit of a challenge, because the knee area can be really bothersome. There's a pocket on the inside of the pants where you can put the knee protector, but I feel like the way that it's designed is really lazy, where it's possible for the little layer in between the knee protector and your knee, that can get kind of like dislodged or dislocated a little bit, where my knee ends up touching the knee protector, and I just find that very uncomfortable. I don't like that at all. So I don't always feel comfortable wearing these pants, but I wear them because I want to, for safety. They do have hip protectors right here. And then, yeah, just the knee protectors. Some pants have an issue where the knee protectors sit in a really awkward position. So that's why buying pants has been so difficult for me. I'm short, I feel like most of them design them for taller people. And yeah, there's random moments where like the knee protector begins right on your knee or some crap like that, and that feels very uncomfortable. So I will link all my products in the information box just if people are curious, as well as my size, because right now I don't know these off the top of my head. And then lastly, these are my Dainese riding boots. These were actually a second pair that I wanted. So they had a different version that I preferred. It looked kind of bionic. I thought that was really cool the way it looked, but they didn't have it in my size, so I decided to buy these. I've had these for a while. They're extremely dirty. I don't take care of them, but of course, when you're riding, especially having them on your feet, I feel like they'll get dirty very easily. So I don't know. In my opinion, cleaning it might not be worth it. All right, and lastly, these are my riding gloves. They are by Alpine Stars, and I used to use gloves that would go past my wrist, and that is definitely the safest kind. But I feel like with a leather jacket, it's gonna get really bunched up, and I don't really like that. It's very stiff in that area. So I've been using these for a while. I do think for long rides that I do end up with a few dents on my hands because I'm twisting the throttle so much and squeezing. But one more thing that I did want to mention that I forgot to mention when I was recording this is that the one thing that I started using late while riding, but I guess still earlier than most people, is wearing ear protection. So that is extremely, extremely important. Anytime I ride now without hearing protection, it just feels terrible because it's too loud. It's bad for your hearing, very, very bad for your hearing. So just remember, if you're ever going to get into riding, make sure you wear your hearing protection.